Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Hey, welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. We're going to start in a few minutes, but I want to tell you to hit up our social sites, retweet, share, comment, like, do all of that stuff. It can only help us out and it'll make the show even better. But we're getting ready to give you a lot of good Ole Miss information, and I just thought I would tell you that because the POMcast is starting. Well, it's starting right now. Wait, no, that's a little early. It is starting right about now. All right, welcome to the POMcast on this Wednesday morning. I am your host, Stephen Willis. Before we get started, I do want to tell you about Travel and Cruise World. That's 1-800-330-7461. Again, that is 1-800-330-7461. What I was trying to do with this is everybody needs a vacation. We're 18 months into this at this point. This provides a resource for you down in Central Florida, near the attractions, near Disney, near Universal, near the beach. They know all the answers to the questions that you have about masking, unmasking, and whatever's going on corporate-wise. They can help you out and make sure your vacation is the best thing possible. Plus, they can get you the same rate that you can get online. So, travelandcruiseworld.com, 1-800-330-7461. See Central Florida like a local. Also want to tell you about bookatailgate.com. Take it to the Grove. Tailgating and events can be a marvelous service for your game day weekend. LSU's coming into town this weekend. They have single game packages. They have full season packages. They can store your tailgating equipment. They can rent you what you need. They can even give you another tent if it is larger than you think it is. So give them a call at 662-701-1177. That's 662-701-1177. bookatailgate.com. So today, well, real quick, if you want to watch the show, we're on tons of avenues, however you choose to watch it, but we're available on Twitter at The Stephen Willis or at Ole Positively. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast, and you can catch us on YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Subscribe and hit the bell. No matter how you watch this show, the best notification for this show is the YouTube notification. So hit the bell, subscribe to all notifications. They'll not only tell you that we're streaming, they'll tell you what we're streaming about, and you can determine if you need to catch it live or if you need to catch it on demand, however you want to do it. But that's what I recommend there. We're also available on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all lowercase, all one word. Down below you can see our podcast channels. Those are just the main ones. We're on other ones as well. You can search us at Positively Ole Miss and just leave a 5-star review. You can say whatever you want. Just leave a 5-star review. The chat is lighting up, as you can imagine, with the LSU coaching search, and a little bit of talking about Arch in there as well. We're a little bit premature for that. Just remember the chat is open. Even though you can't see it, I can see everything, so you can interact with the show. And I'll do my best to answer questions during the show. So, yeah, it's going to be a great show. The main thing is the most important 2-game stretch of the season is the next 2 games. So there are the next 2 games. Home against LSU, on the road against Auburn. If Ole Miss can get through both of those with a win, they can really take off. You'll understand what I'm talking about whenever I break that down. We have their press conference highlights. We hear from Casey Kelly, Cedric Melton, and Sam Williams, I believe, later on the show. And we'll do a little bit of Ed Orgeron story time as a commemoration of the last time we have to play him. I think this is the last week that we'll really pay attention to him at all. But I'll tell a story about ripping shirts off a dog pile in a team room later on in the show if we have time. So that should be pretty cool as well. Again, I'm Stephen Willis. Thank you very much for joining us. I do want to let you know what's going on. I am one of the only people in the that talks about Ole Miss, does whatever, that has worked for the national media and had an office in the Manning Center. So thank you very much, new people, for tuning in. That's pretty good. Now, we are in a situation to where Lane Kiffin really just doesn't talk to media. He just doesn't do that. That's not his bag. That's not the way he operates. It's a very Nick Saban thing to mix with the Pete Carroll stuff that we grew up with. And in doing that, I provide a little bit of a insight that others do not have, because I've seen the day-to-day. I spent 3 years in it, because it is essentially the Pete Carroll program. Everybody gives Nick Saban all the credit, but it's probably 75% Pete Carroll. Now, the stuff that the way they deal with the media and things like that, that is absolutely Nick Saban. I'm not saying that's not. But the other stuff kind of, it falls on the Pete Carroll stuff, the fun stuff, and because there's 3 tenets of this program, and that really didn't change from when Coach Orgeron was here in 2006, 2005, all that time. But the thing that he's built is competition is the number one tenet of this program. The idea is to recruit at a level that you can push the guy above you to have to play, and he's going to make everybody better. As you can see, it's working. Second is have fun. No matter what you do, this is a game. You're supposed to have fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable to come out here and do this. So they do things like play baseball at the end of practice. They line up to where defensive players play offense, offensive players defense, and they all, they run a fade route to where they do it with the O-line and D-line too, where they're playing skill position. Things like that are fun. Something that people will enjoy. People love playing for Coach Kiffin. And finally, pro mindset. And basically, pro mindset is another word for a thing that we did back in 2005 and 2006 that was just protect the team. Pro mindset is just a better way of putting that. Do what you're supposed to do, be where you're supposed to be, and behave as if you are a professional athlete and do the things you need to do, and we will prepare you to move on to the next level. Those are the 3 tenets of this program. And in doing so, you can see this thing growing and growing and growing to the point where it's almost visible. Now, it's visible to us because we are in this and we want this to happen, so it's kind of a confirmation bias type thing. But Kiffin is building a monster here. And people need to realize what's happened. If he stays, it might take a few more years to get to where he wants to be. But if he stays, he is absolutely building a monster in Oxford right now. We need to get the recruiting to the level that it needs to be at. It's not quite there, but it just seems like everything that happens is a positive for Ole Miss, especially on the recruiting trail. People won't say this, but Knoxville and Neyland was an unbelievable recruiting win for Ole Miss. Take away all the fact that you went into that environment with all those decibels and you pulled out the win. Let's take that away. Let's just count on the fact that they did that to you and how you handled it afterwards. Even with the visor flip at the end. It was the perfect night for Ole Miss. And this is with a team that was missing half of its starting offense. The defense had to come through and make play after play after play. Got a win in front of 100,000 people in possibly the loudest stadium that Ole Miss has played in at least 7 years. The only thing closer would be Tiger Stadium in 2014 when we went in there 7-0. That's the only thing I can think of that would be remotely close. So just understand what is happening here. Now, things like go to the game and let's make an atmosphere. That challenge, yeah, that's probably an important challenge because we need to do what we need to do to keep him. He's not just going to stay on his own. He's building a monster here, but he has to be incentivized to stay. Just understand that. And part of that is the cultivating of the fan base he is currently doing. We'll see what it looks like Saturday. The field looks great. I like the Manning end zones. I like the abundance of red. I don't know what's happening necessarily, but that was an abundance of red in that field, and there was no blue. I don't know if they're going to do anything with uniforms. I don't know what's going to go on, but I feel like there might be another surprise just on the abundance of red. So, but this is the two most important games in Ole Miss's season. And why is because this one, as it turns out, is going to be a matchup issue. Now, if LSU decides to come out and try and throw the ball, they're not a matchup issue. But if they want to come out like they did against Florida and try and play counter, gap scheme, and power, they're going to be a little bit an issue with our defense because our defense is undersized, period. The way you attack this defense is on the edge because we are undersized. So we did some things to protect ourselves against Tennessee. Defense played really well. LSU has had line problems all year until Florida when they broke the school record for rushing, believe it or not. So I think they're going to try and do that again. So you see Coach Orgeron has regressed to the Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis offense, which is probably his safe space offense. So they're going to run power. They're going to run counter, but essentially counter Trey. And it's going to be up to Ole Miss to stop it. And Ole Miss doesn't necessarily need to stop it, but slow it down. Make it to where I don't think they can stop us. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. I don't think they can stop us. And if you slow it down, it becomes like a 7-0. 7-7, 14-7, 21-7. If you get, that one stop in there, all of a sudden you have a 2-touchdown lead. And the way they're playing now, it is not sustainable. So understand on the outside, their best offensive weapon on the outside is probably Trey Palmer. He's a really talented player. He's a really fast player. If he went off in that game, it would not surprise me. He has not to this point. There's a lot of players from LSU's team that have all the talent in the world to go off at any moment, but they haven't at this point. So it's hard to make a prediction that they're going to go off. They have the ability to go off, and you think it could happen, but we haven't seen it. So I'm expecting this game to be a physical, downhill running, just grudge match between LSU's offense and Ole Miss's defense. Now, here's the benefit that nobody's thinking of. Whenever we need to get big, we can get fairly big. To where we can play some one-high safety, put them in man coverage, play a 3-3 stack, and our defensive linemen are all 300 pounds, and our linebackers are all around 250. So if they want to get physical and get big, we can do that. Now the question is, do we need to? Do we need to do that? I don't know. I think it's a game that we have better players, believe it or not. As in this year, better college football players, not necessarily based off talent and potential. As a coach said one time, your potential is going to get me fired. And that happened at LSU. I don't know. I just don't know if they're going to be able to take what's going on. And we need a home field advantage. The place needs to be loud. It needs to be a genuine thing. This is a rivalry game. This is for that trophy. You can say what you want to about that trophy. That trophy exists. There probably needs to be a trophy for the Arkansas game. That's another story altogether. But that trophy exists. And they're going to celebrate with that trophy if they win. And going into that game and whatever's going on, they're a beat-up team. They just are. But they're playing LSU this week, and they're playing a better version in Auburn next week. So we know that Bo Nix will throw it up for grabs, but they're a physical running team. This is Tank Bigsby, Jarquez Hunter from Philadelphia, Mississippi, playing quite well over on the Plains. But the matchups there, the physical running game, both styles with the defense that we have, and Auburn being specifically on the road. If we get through those games, if we win our next 2 games, we're 7-1 with Liberty, Texas A&M at home, and Vanderbilt at home. The 3-game homestand, and then we close out on the Egg Bowl. Now, there's a chance. A&M's a good team, a really good team, and that's going to be a test. But this 2-game stretch is really the difference between, oh my God, special season and just good season. If we win both these games, if we come out of these games 7-1, with Liberty next, A&M after that, Vanderbilt after that, and no offense, I'm not saying anything negative about Liberty and Vanderbilt. Understand that. Nothing about this. But it does stagger a little bit of get well in there. It isn't backed up to back up. You know, you got Vanderbilt, and then 5 days later you have Mississippi State. Mississippi State's coming off Tennessee State, so it's like us against Nashville at that point. But it is what it is. All right, we've got the press conference highlights coming up. We got, let's see, Casey Kelly, I think Cedric Melton, and Sam Williams. When we come back, we'll do a little story time, and we'll talk a little bit about that game some more. And then we'll do some story time with Coach O and team rooms and dog piles and things like that. Also, before I play this, no POMcast tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to the tumor doctor. Everything is fine. Everything's normal. This is just part of the process to do it. But my appointment is at 10 a.m., which means I will not make it back for this show. There will be no updates on injuries. It's all game time decisions. William Roberts asked any updates on our injuries. We need all our wide receivers and tight ends. I think Jonathan Mingo he's the serious one out of the group. Dontario looks like maybe he's going to get a little healthy because he was not healthy last week. They were situationally playing that guy. And Braylon Sanders, they said, is a pain tolerance thing. I'm not expecting Chase Rogers to be back, but another game with Casey Kelly going through that would be beneficial. So it'd be nice to have him back. So, all right, we're going to play the press conference highlights and come back with a little story time. Stick around.
Sir, it's been a long road, definitely. But I feel they put me in the right position to do therapy and get to where I need to be to perform on the field. So I feel like I'm back to my abilities and back to where I need to be.
Man, I must say it's a totally different ball game than what it was when I played back in high school. It's so much faster, you gotta really know what you're doing, be quick about it and everything. Like, it's different. It's a different beast, can't lie.
I really don't know. I guess I play harder. They mix up different schemes, different plays, one-on-ones, coaching different, teaching different. So watching film different, like it's just, I don't know. It's just different this year because we have a whole nother leadership. So as a coach, so he teaches us new things and new ways to watch film, new techniques, so I just take coaching.
Definitely right off the bat, obviously, tears, emotions, but I just got to put my head down and grind, and I know everything happens for a reason, so I'm just staying the course and stay true to who I am.
I feel like I did good. I did, yes, sir. I feel like I know there's room to improve, but other than that, I feel like I did. I held my own out there. So
it's well, I don't know. I guess it's a big deal because going in the game, Coach Kiffin said it's gonna be up to us because Tennessee got a good defense and it's gonna be a defensive game. He said that from the beginning. So I'm proud of the defense for stepping up. And battling it out to the end.
Yes, sir. Having him as a brother, obviously, me coming from a quarterback family, I've been able to see defenses better than others, maybe. and, you know, just kind of understanding the game of football and what he has to bring to the table. He knows defense is like the back of his hand. So for him we just talk about sports, football. We'll talk about the game. We'll talk about each play. We'll watch film together. We'll go through each route, each block, and he'll let me know what he sees, and I'll let him know what I see, and kind of just base off each other and just teach each other.
Not really. I mean, it's just when you really know what you're doing, it's just like it all just settles in that day or the next day. So it's like it don't really bother me.
Film. He taught us how to watch film. Like he taught us how to watch film from the O-lineman feet up. Like first you start at the feet, like how do they sit? How do they like move their feet? Are they on their heels, on their toes? And that really just set up your move. They're on the heels, you go to different power moves. They're on their feet, you go speed moves because they're leaners. And he taught us like different type of O-linemen, like a riser, clamper, puncher, baiter. Like it's so much I can't even explain. I got a whole book of it, like for different different O-linemen and different pass rush moves to go with those O-linemen.
Yeah, he's talking about Randall Joyner, by the way, and teaching him how to watch film, talking about from the ground up, the dedication to film viewing and exactly what they need to look for. So that's a pretty cool thing that was really unintentionally gotten from this press conference. So that was pretty cool. So Sam Williams talking about the film, and the sack numbers speak for themselves, and he's obviously doing a good job with it. So in this game, I do expect LSU to come out and run the ball. They think they found something last week, and they might have. So what? But they're going to go out and try and run the ball, and they're going to try and play keep away a little bit from Matt Corral. I think Matt Corral scares them. I think the gamesmanship going into that game will, I don't know, not necessarily affect that game. So you will see a team, LSU is going to try and keep Matt Corral off the field. That's the best defense against Matt Corral. I think John Rice Plumlee is going to have a role playing quarterback Saturday. It's not going to be anything on Matt Corral or anything like that. It's not going to be a big one, but the quarterback run game, I think he will go back and take some direct snaps because they do want to take a little bit of the stress off of Matt Corral running the ball because they do need him to be healthy, especially next week, because next week is a big game. It starts like the accordion games, the up and down games, to where Ole Miss plays Auburn, then they get Liberty, and then they play Texas A&M, then they get Vanderbilt, then they get Mississippi State. So it's like going to yo-yo a little bit towards the end of the season. But these next two games are absolutely huge. Absolutely huge for this Ole Miss football team. Not necessarily for the program, but for this team. Now, if you want to talk about the future of this team, it's also fairly huge. It's just fairly massive. Because if you get past these games and you have really A&M on the schedule, which you should be favored going into that game, believe it or not, and you should be favored over everybody except maybe Auburn at this point. And if you can get that Auburn win and start heading towards 11-1, nothing is off the table at that point. Nothing. Even the playoff is on the table at that point. Remember, they haven't even done the playoff rankings, but Ole Miss needs to win those games. They need to focus. They need to be game by game. This week is a trophy game. First step is to get that trophy back. Now, whatever you feel about that trophy, whatever you feel about it, it doesn't matter. The fact is you want to keep it, and you want it in your trophy case. So the first step is to get that trophy back and then get ready for the physical match on the Plains. Because after that Auburn game, they don't leave the state of Mississippi again. It's an interesting, weird setup, but it is what it is. So, let's see. All right. Story time. Let's see. I think this one was in 2005, I believe. And me and the other video guys went. I was an assistant video guy. Was in the team room for a team meeting, and we all, we're working to. The way it was set up is both computers were somehow being used. I can't exactly remember. It's been 2 decades. Forgive me. But we were both in there. And I think that was Brandon Fairburn as the video coordinator. And Coach O comes in and holds up a football, just holds it up in the air. And then puts the football down and rips off his shirt. Then grabs the football and just throws it on the floor. Now, there's furniture all over this. There's probably at this point close to 100 people in that room. And if everybody remembers the old team room, it was not the biggest place. It's not like it is now. It was pretty cramped being in there. So everybody started fighting for this ball. And honestly, everybody can joke about all they want, but it looked like the South Park, they took our jobs thing. It's just a big mass of humanity, like 6.5 feet in the air, just a pile of people. And then Coach O, you hear his squeaky voice, because he always got squeaky when he got mad. Just yelled for everybody to stop. And it's like, okay. Well, me and the other video guy, A, we had our shirts on, and B, we were not participating in the dog pile because we're grown-ups. And he stopped what was going. And then he took the chance to, 15 minutes after that, to completely dress down me and Brandon for not taking part in the dog pile to recover a fumble with our shirt ripped off. And that is one of the moments that just kind of stuck. Again, we're doing that. It's like, this will not work. This will not be functional in the future. And it wasn't. It absolutely wasn't. But that's an absolute story from inside a team meeting. Tomorrow or Friday, the last one, I will tell you about Coach of the Day. Coach of the Day. And Ryan Nielsen threatening to fight me. That happened as well. So we will talk about that on Friday. And I'll tell you the background that happened in there. So that is pretty interesting. I can probably give you a couple of minutes back today. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope everybody had a good show, essentially. And I look forward to seeing all y'all Friday. Remember, no show tomorrow. I have medical stuff to happen tomorrow. Tonight, SEC After Dark at 8:30 Central. Tune in for that. Corey and Jeb will join me. Jeb is a Tennessee guy. It'll be interesting to get his perspective on Saturday night as well. And we're working on some other stuff as well. So, yeah. Tune in to the POMcast on Friday. William, he was the defensive line coach under Coach Orgeron at Ole Miss. Now he's the defensive line coach for the New Orleans Saints. Big dude. But at that point, I think he was younger than me. I think he was 24, 25 years old at that point. So, yeah, I'll get into that Friday and talk about what's going on. But I do want to tell you about Coach of the Day because my wife did a nice job on the Photoshops of that. So, until the next time I see you, stay cool. And, of course, hotty toddy.